Hi there, and welcome to the Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is August 6th. There's one plant on my front porch that I love, maybe more than I should, the Boston fern. If you walk up to my house, you'll see them. Big, lush, giant pots hanging on the porch and spilling out over the window boxes like green waterfalls. I like to tell gardeners they're the best bang for your buck. I bought mine this spring, 2 for $16. Love that. I put them in their spots, 2 hanging above the porch, 1 in each of the 4 window boxes on the porch railing, 4 hanging in the back under the deck. They're all watered by drip line. They start out kind of puny, but by August, they have filled out, and they look like $1 million. And here's my favorite part about ferns. They're prehistoric. The fern family has been on this planet for 300 million years. They were here before the dinosaurs. In fact, they watched the dinosaurs come and go. They were even here before flowers existed. Ferns don't flower. They never learned how. And that's because after all this time on the planet, not one of them ever needed to. So when you look at a Boston fern, the soft fronds, the curling new growth at the tips, you're looking at one of the oldest shapes in the plant kingdom, that spiral. And the next time you're tempted to walk past a fern at the garden center, reach for it. 2 for $16. Take them home. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1650 that the English herbalist and royal botanist John Parkinson was buried in London. He was 83. John spent his working life grinding herbs for the sick and rose to become the apothecary to King James. At his walled garden at Longacre, he grew tulips out of the Ottoman Empire, alongside fritillaries, cyclamen, and the first double yellow Spanish daffodil ever grown in England. He tutored the bride of Charles I. She was 15 years old and from France, and he wrote the first English gardening book for her. Of the bay tree, he said, "Bay leaves are as necessary as any other in the garden. They serve both for pleasure and profit, both for the living and the dead, so that from the cradle to the grave, we still have use of it, and we still have need of it." And it was on this day in 1809 that the English poet Alfred Lord Tennyson was born in Somersby, England, the 4th of 12 children. In 1850, Queen Victoria made him poet laureate, and 3 years later, he moved to a house called Farringford on the Isle of Wight, where he became, quietly and fiercely, a gardener. By the time he was 54, he left a note for his household saying, "I hope no one will pluck my wild irises which I planted. If they want flowers, there is the kitchen garden." Alfred Lord Tennyson died in 1892 at 83. In his poem, "The Flower," he said, "Once in a golden hour, I cast to earth a seed. Up there came a flower. The people said, a weed." And it was on this day in 1839 that the American entomologist Mary Esther Murtfeldt was born in New York City. After polio as a child, she lived her life on crutches. And although most of the great American naturalists were walkers, Mary did her work seated in her Kirkwood, Missouri garden. Along with the entomologist Charles Riley, she solved how the yucca plant reproduced. Knowing that its pollen was too heavy for the wind, She deduced something was carrying it, and it was a white moth. In the introduction to her book on entomology, she said, "There are those who have yet to learn the difference between a beetle and a bug, or between a moth and a butterfly." She wanted people to love what she loved, even a beetle or a bug. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Head Gardeners by Toby Musgrave. Working Gardens and Estates Week is nearly at its end, and today's book is an act of rescue. The great English gardens of the 18th and 19th centuries are usually told as a story of famous designers: Capability Brown, Humphrey Repton. Their names are on the plaques. Toby Musgrave wanted to tell another story about the men who actually did the work. The Victorian and Edwardian head gardeners ran what were, in effect, large businesses, 50 staff or more, and pineapples by the dozen, and peaches by the thousand, all grown out of their own greenhouses. The gardeners all started out as garden boys at around age 12, and their apprenticeships lasted up to 15 years. The gardener Andrew Turnbull memorized 50 new plant names a night to earn his way into the flower garden. The young men lived in bothies, cold and gloomy hovels, and paid a fee to the head gardener just to be taken on. And some of them tyrannized over their employers. Musgrave found one who wrote threatening letters when the owner dared to pick and eat his prized grapes without asking permission. There are so many great stories. The Head Gardeners by Toby Musgrave offers excellent insight into the history that was always there, but was just waiting for someone to find it. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1925 that the American gardener Frank Cabot was born in New York City. He grew up in the New York branch of the old Boston Cabot family, shipping money, generations old. As a boy, he spent his summers at his grandmother's place in Quebec, on the north shore of the St. Lawrence. He went straight into the Army when he was 20 years old, in uniform with the Signal Corps in the occupation of Japan at the end of the war. One afternoon, he walked into his first Japanese garden. He saw the moss, the stepping stones, the stone lanterns, and he spent the rest of his life trying to recreate what he saw that afternoon. Back home, he married Ann Perkins in 1949 and became a partner at a venture capital firm in New York. But he was honest with himself about it all. He said, "I was a good promoter of ventures that didn't always work out." And so he threw himself into gardening. When Frank was 40, his grandmother's estate in Quebec passed to him. And when he was 50, he began to build. He named it Les Quatre Vents, the Four Winds, for the four winds off the high plateau above the river. And for the next 36 years, the garden was his life's work. Quatre Vents grew to more than 20 garden rooms, with more than 100 varieties of primula. And then Frank did something no one expected. Hidden inside his clipped hedges, he installed 2 quartets of life-size copper frogs, holding musical instruments. And whenever a visitor walked past, an infrared beam tripped, and one set of frogs struck up Dixieland jazz, and the other played a string quartet. And that's how Frank Cabot, the patrician in a bow tie, had wired his formal Quebec garden so that strangers walking through it would be surprised into dancing. Many did. When Frank was 64, he turned his attention outward. He'd been visiting the garden of a woman named Ruth Bancroft in California, and he realized that when Ruth was gone, her garden would almost certainly be lost. In England, great gardens had the National Trust, but in America, there was no such thing. So Frank founded one. He called it the Garden Conservancy. Frank died at Le Quatre Vents, the Four Winds, in November of 2011 at 86 years old. His family made one quiet decision. They would not hold his memorial in November. They would wait and hold it at the garden in the spring, when the primulas were in full bloom. That was Frank Cabot, born on this day in 1925. The Quatre Vents garden is still in the Cabot family. It opens to the public only 4 or 5 days each summer. Today's book was The Head Gardeners by Toby Musgrave. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.
Thank you.